I guess thank you all for coming. Got some distinguished guests in here as well, and I'd like to thank them for coming along to the special occasion. My name is Daniel Roe. So I'm actually, as I said, from Broome, part of the Goolarabooloo family. We've been around, and through my great-grandfather, have held a lot of responsibilities up there in the north. But as part of, I think, before commencing further, I think to have that acknowledgement here, that we're here in Whadjuk country in Walyalup, and pay my respects here to the present, past and current, or emerging actually, TOs of this area. So in saying that, where Greg's work has come throughout his time and experience, I think we both sort of known as I was a young man up in Broome, and we both had a bit more black in our hair back then. But that has gone wiser now, I suppose, as time goes by. And also, as a guest speaker, we have Auntie Anne, who's a professor. She's also part of the University of Notre Dame up there, and advocacy on the protection and maintaining its natural beauty of the Martuwarra, which is the Fitzroy crossing, the Fitzroy River, actually, sorry. But so hopefully that will have both having a presentation and giving their deliverables on the background of why we're here, and as well, I guess, in all sense of being humans and where we belong and how we should be looking and reflecting, why are we here on this planet and what purpose? As with different cultural backgrounds, myself as a young law boss, I have responsibilities back home, and we try to continue and maintain that as it gives us our identity and continuance and connection to country. So that's a big responsibility, and we're trying to do that amongst living in today's society with everything that's going on around us. All right, but without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Anne Poelina up.
I want to say something. So, mabu bayan, ngaji no nilawala Anne Poelina, ngayo imarwara manan, ngai mandajara nyigera nganga on Nunga Whadjuk Puja country. So, I just wanted to say, in my language, I said, good evening. My name is Anne Poelina. Ngayo imarwara manan means I am a woman who belongs to the Fitzroy River. So, in terms of property rights, the river owns me. And I'm duty bound to protect that river, not just now, but for generations to come. So in terms of the story coming here tonight, I think, it's all about story. This is not a speech. It's about lived experience and what does it mean to be fully human. So as Indigenous people, when we are born, we are given what we call a jarinj, or a totem. And it can be a bird, it can be a tree, it can be the wind. My totem is the blue-tongued lizard. And so basically what we're saying as Indigenous people is that we have not walked away from the Garden of Eden. We have stayed, we've loved it, we've tended it, we've cared for it. And this is what IPBES and IUCN and everybody is saying, is that these last bastions of biodiversity around the world that Indigenous people have held on to and been good guardians for. In a way, what I was talking with someone just outside was, I think as a planet of people, human beings, and sometimes I get in trouble because I say we're all Indigenous to Mother Earth, that we are human beings. And the point I'm making about having a jarinj or a totem is that who could believe that an animal or a creature can teach you how to be fully human? That you can grow an ethics of care and love for something that is non-human. So we see all of these creatures as part of us. They're our kin, they're family, they're part of the world in which we have inherited as part of our due inheritance. So I think one of the things that I just wanted to share was the fact that this ancient wisdom that is not just in this country, though this is the oldest culture in the world, it's global. That there's this knowledge system out there that we really need to look at. It's not ancient like for back then. It has relevance now in modernity. And that's what we really want to share. So the Martuwarra, the Fitzroy River, is a living ancestral being. We cry with it, we sing with it, we dance with it. And the point that I'm really bringing about this is that Paddy Roe was my uncle. And so he was a Nyikina man. And so from the river, he went up and became part of the Goolarabooloo story. And so what I want to show is just that connection. My family are heavily connected into this whole Jew inheritance of family, of blood, of kinship. And I guess what we're saying as Indigenous people is that when you look at what's happening in the world today, you kind of go like, where are we going as human beings? How can we learn to live, love and die with country, for country, about country? So this is all about stories, and these stories have come here from the beginning of time. And what we say with these values and these ethics is that these creatures teach us to be fully human. But one of the things I write about, and being very prolific in my writing, is I write about lawful, awful laws. Laws that are no longer fit for purpose for human beings, let alone the environment, and these creatures that need them, need this ethics of care. And so what we're talking about is we're dealing with complexity. So it's not just Indigenous wisdom we need, but we need all of those different forms of thinking because we're dealing with this complexity. We need collective wisdom because we're not going to find the answer in any one person. And so this journey that Greg's been on for over 30 years, like who could think that it would take 30 years to write a book? Well, when you make a promise, when you make a promise, we have a concept called waiting time. And sometimes people get really impatient and they want things to happen really quickly. But as we wait in the waiting time, other secrets get revealed. And when you read Greg's book, you kind of go like, how can one man give us a whole story of humanity from where it's come from, where it is now, and where it could go to? So one of the things we talk about as Indigenous people is that we have a word in our language and different interpretations of it, Bulgaragara. And for me, Bulgaragara means the past, the present and the future fused into this moment in time in which we must act. And so we're at that point. And so I kind of feel the birth of this book and the stories that have been told within it. I couldn't believe I picked it up and I couldn't put it down. And for those of you that's read it, what, over 600 pages? 700 pages? You kind of go like, have I got time first? Have I got time? Have I got a moral contract to commit to reading this text? When there's so many amazing stories to read. And so it is a story of love, attention, of amazing things that happened over time, over centuries. And so when you look at the picture that Greg has painted of humanity, and then brought it back to this country in terms of where this country was birthed and what are the revelations that come from the land. This land ethic that we talked about. I was just talking with our beautiful friends from Rome and they're talking about geoethics. Country is alive. It has power. It holds memory. And we're on a conversation right now with where should we be going as a nation with the voice. And what I'm saying is that I really have a story which is each and every one of you, this is your country. You are born here. Your DNA is embedded in this cultural landscape. Your children, your grandchildren. So part of that story is you need to develop an ethics of care and love for this place that we call Australia our home. And just very quickly, a couple of years ago, there was, with the recent Australian Bureau of Statistics data, the 2 censuses ago, 60% of Australians still have not met Aboriginal people, have not met an Aboriginal person. And you kind of go, that's a bit alarming. But the thing that gives me great hope is the fact that 60% of this country is now multi-faith, multi-denominational, multi-worldview. And I believe that with time, this kind of conversation that we're having tonight, and in a way, forces the conversation about a total reset, because what we're saying is that it can't be business as usual. It can't. we have to find a different way, and I was also sharing, people say, oh, the Extinction Rebellion, people say that if we are so stupid as human beings and we befall our own demise, Mother Earth will right-size herself. And I say, yes, she will, because she has that power, but she would be lonely without the vibration of human beings. So we have a duty of care, to dream and to believe that there is a future for young people, children not born yet. And so part of this thinking is to be thinking, okay, what is the message in this book? What is the story? And there's many messages, but what is the message that Greg and Old Man put together to dream that in the future we would have such a text and that we would be able to challenge ourselves in our own thinking about how do we do the right thing right now. So I think when I look at the world globally, what I want to say is that this ancient wisdom that's out there is coming as a gift from Indigenous people, not just in this country but across the world. And we as human beings need to make a decision which way we're going to go, forward, back, left, right. And so we're at a critical time where we need to be thinking about leadership, governance, the politics of economics, all of these things that impact on, the ability for nature to survive, to thrive, and to be with all of us. My passion is obviously rivers. I study rivers around the world and are arguing that rivers are, as I said, living ancestral beings with a right not just to live, but a right to flow. And so, we need to come together, we need to think about where are we going? Can we be, as Brett says, good ancestors? Can we create laws that will allow our young people to dream and have a future and for us to leave that with them? So part of this story is to look at an amazing book like this and go, wow, can one man put that together? No, because there was collective thinking, there was collective wisdom, there was and still is collective dreaming about how do we dream the past, the present, into the future right now. So I just wanted to share a few things in regards to the book. It's fantastic, all of the work that we're doing out there as Indigenous people. The work of Goolarabooloo has really led me to a challenge that if I want people to feel and hear the Fitzroy River, then we need to start to create walking trails along that river as well. We need to bring people to country so they can hear and feel country, because country is not quiet. It is full of amazing sounds. The wind may blow and someone might say, oh, somebody's sending us a message. Where's that message come from? So tonight is just an opportunity to share, to celebrate, to all stand in solidarity with the dream that Old Man had many, many years ago and instructed Greg to be due diligent in his work. And we have birthed something, Greg has birthed something that is holding the memory of country, but not just holding the memory, but sending the dream out, that it's time for a total reset. And all of us need to show that through our ethics of care and love, that we care about Mother Earth, that we stand together in solidarity, and we have a dream that young people must not just inherit what we've got left now, but can have a dream of how they can create new visions, new dreams, new songs, new dance, new stories, new films. And so from that, I just wanted to share tonight that it's just been an honour to come down from the Kimberley to be here tonight. It's a very busy space up there. And so what we're saying is that let's work together, let's dream together, let's see how can we, in a country such as Australia with so much intelligence, so much collective wisdom, how can we get lawful, awful laws right, to have justice for the environment, to have justice for the rivers, importantly to have justice for Indigenous people, because our story is your story, because we are saying that together we have to walk hand in hand and stand for this nation. And one day when we all grow up, we can all be free. But right now we have a dream of a conversation for how do we dream the future with Indigenous people? How do we share this story, get it out? And I also want to say that part of this journey has been, I've got a son who's just, he's pretty cool. He's up for a gold Logie this year. But he has just, in the final stages of fine-tuning one word in the book that he needs to get right, which will take one day to record, but he's off, he'll be on, hosting NAIDOC. But, this is all about all of us. This is about, as I said, one of the things I want to leave with you is that the view that we have is that we come from a world of we, not me, and we have to throw ego out and bring eco in if we're going to dream and have a future for the planet and for all of us. Gully o Marble, thank you.
The author, Mr. Greg Campbell.
Wonderful to see everyone here this evening. Thank you very much for coming. In particular, thanks to Anne and Daniel, who've come all the way down for Broome just for this. I think we're all very honoured and privileged. The messages that Anne just imparted resonate very deeply with all of us, I feel. I don't see anyone here who's not moved by that wonderful expression of love. Love. It's such a powerful aspect of traditional Aboriginal culture. Pure love. And people never use the word. I never heard people say love. It's something that you show, you do. You love the animal by listening to it, by being with it, or the tree, or the bush, or the fire, or whatever. It's a state of being real and true and straight and clear and connected. And it's just love. And it's joyful and it's light and wonderful, as you can see. So many thanks too, by the way, for Joanna Robertson, who owner of Kidogo, and an equally wonderful manager, Emir Doyle, for allowing us to have this event here, which was originally the ceramic workshop of my late mother Joan. And I spent many happy weeks lime whitewashing these walls, I remember very well. To Sonny Wilson, my children Sebastian and Jasmine, who helped set this all up, many thanks to you. 1992, I'd been 1 year with Lulu, with the old man, and we went out country one day with a couple of families, about 20 of us, 5 or 6 kids, and they were all playing around near a water tank, an old cattle station water tank, no longer a cattle station, that country. And suddenly there was a shout, "Snake, snake, big snake." Oh, someone called out. Yeah, and they see this big snake coiled up, king brown, really big one, coiled up right at the foot of the water tank. So someone went and grabbed Lulu. So Lulu comes wandering over. "Yeah, what's up, Bubba? There's a big snake, Lulu. This kid's very scared. You know, we've got to do something." "Oh, all right, okay, all right." Well, he walks up to the snake. He's about a metre away. And he starts talking to the snake in language. Talks for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and then the snake slowly uncoils and goes away into the bushes. Oh, I said, "That's amazing, Lulu." I said, "Can I do that?" He said, "Nah, he not speak English." And no one really paid any attention to it. This was just like normal. When you're hanging around someone who's connected with what Lulu referred to as the ground at the bottom of everything, Goolarabooloo, the dreaming, the foundation of physical reality, the unmanifest, manifested right now as all this. Yeah, it's like that. These things just happen as a natural part of daily life, you know. Lulu was born in 1912, passed away in 2001. I knew him and was with him basically in the final 10 years of his life and with his people ever since. He was born on Yarrawa country in his Nyikina people, same people as Anne Nyikina Warrwa woman. They'd been driven off or had fled their country because of horrible massacre that had happened by the new cattle station people who had arrived with their guns and so on. And Lulu was born there in the bush. His tribal father was Bulu. Bulu was a very powerful maban man, a shaman, if you will, senior keeper of the law, very respected throughout certainly the West Kimberley, if not the whole Kimberley. And he is an important man because he was already married before any non-Indigenous people entered the Kimberley. So Bulu, and therefore Lulu and his brothers Joe Nangan and George Dungian and the others, all were raised and lived in that world of values and beliefs and social structures and systems and processes which have been carried unbroken from, to use Lulu's words, day one. The very first human beings who walked this planet, he said, received the blueprint for living in balance, in harmony, looking after the planet. Because he said the principal role of human beings, the reason why we have the capabilities we have, is to look after the balance of all life. That's our principal reason for being on this planet. Not, it's to do with me and what I need to do. No, it's about looking after the balance of all life. To look after the balance of all life, he said, you must be connected to all life, to the ground at the bottom of everything. Now, the Great Spirit, American Indians call it, the Brahman in India, the nothingness perhaps, or something similar, the thatness in Buddhism, Yahweh, Jewish people, God for Christians, and so on. But the God of Lulu's God was not somewhere there. This is God. Here. This is the spark of divine creation. Everyone is a spark of that. Not different from it. Not different at all. Just a manifestation of it. So, Lulu was very clear that the way forward for humanity today, and he saw what was coming down. I don't even want to talk about that. He saw what was coming down and he was clear that it could be avoided. But it's going to be avoided by people taking responsibility and acting in intelligent ways, acting in harmonious, loving ways, not in anger, not in... it's very easy to get angry. You look at stuff like the Great Reset and AI-controlled humanoids, being the vision for all of us in the next, 10, 20 years. It can get very upsetting to think that's how we are seen. We're just going to become little robots in a AI's controlled system. Horrible, horrible. Because inside us is the whole universe. Inside us is everything. This world is not composed of organic beings and non-organic things. As Anne said, it's fully alive. The rock is no less alive than you and me. The soil, the trees, the flowers, the fauna, the skies, the wind, the fire, the waters, the fresh water of life, without which nothing exists on this planet. The creative power of the universe, the rainbow serpent for Aboriginal people, Torres Strait Islander people, dragon, Chinese culture, Kundalini, India and the Himalayas. Everyone has a different way of describing it and labelling it and naming it. It's the same thing. This universe was not created by AI, nor by any human or technology. Actually, it doesn't exist. But it exists. If a bus comes along and you stand in the wrong place, runs over you, get squashed, But not really. You do in physical reality, but not in the dreaming. Because in each of us is the spark of all. And that spark, the soul, the spirit, call it what you want, doesn't really matter what the label is, doesn't die and isn't born. So when the body goes, when the body drops off, you do not. Existence continues. This is Lulu's clear understanding and also of the great teachers I had in India. it continues. You can actually see yourself laying there dead and people crying. And you can call out to them, please don't cry, I'm okay. But they don't hear you. Well, they don't hear you because it's like in a dream when you speak, like that. Yeah. So my journey to Lulu began in a very interesting way when I was 3 years old and met Jupiter, a big fella from the Midwest in his 50s, all cicatrices, full black. He spent a weekend with us at home in Scarborough, 1952. He'd been at Perth Airport, sitting there waiting to catch a plane. He'd come down for heart operation. They were taking him back. It was successful, but he missed the plane. He was sitting on the tarmac and he wouldn't speak English and no one knew what to do, so they called the emergency phone number of the Native Welfare Department, which was our home phone number in Scarborough. And on Saturday morning when I woke up and jumped into my high chair in the kitchen to have my cornflakes, I looked up and there was this big fella sitting there, the like of which I'd never seen in my life at all. There was no TVs in those days or anything. I was just in total awe. I was just blown away. I couldn't work up. And then he smiled. He smiled, this most wonderful smile. And we talk about love, love with nothing attached, nothing, no conditions attached. And I just melted. And we had a fantastic weekend together. And he did something to me, not physical thing. Something magical he did. I still to this day don't know what it was. But what I do know is that it started this process of coming to that. And 20 years later, here I am, 22, 23, handsome young fella, love beer and tequila, beautiful women, cricket and football, surfing and chess. I mean, life is fantastic, And I go down south for the first time to go surfing, and no, I never got surfing at all because I was initiated directly by the rainbow serpent on country into its reality. Can you imagine that? Unexpected, uncalled for, unsought, no logical reason why it should happen at all, but in a very powerful part of Wardundee country near Margaret River, it killed me, or at least he gave me the experience of death 6 times over. And then the experience of transcendence and seeing the entire universe through its eyes, or through its eye specifically. And what it was observing was itself. It was like looking in a mirror at its reflection, at its creative impulse, and here it is. Right now, that's what's happening. This is not all fixed. We run things in linear time. We can run it right through beautifully, or increasingly so in linear time. But all that stuff is existing now. Future, past, present, is present in the Bulgarigara, in the dreaming. The eye of the rainbow serpent, it's all present. It's the eye of the rainbow serpent. We are. How about that? If you think anything in this world or universe is not sacred, think again. Doesn't matter who or what. Everything is sacred. Everything. So, that I think is the ground for the great respect that we see demonstrated by Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people who are true to their way and true to their values, such as Daniel and Anne and many others. Respect is paramount. But how is it real? How does respect... we can make the effort to be respectful. That's good behavioural stuff. But how is it real and powerful? It's by direct recognition that everyone and everything and every creature and tree and bush and so on is equally sacred, none more than another. Just sacred. It's all this creative unfoldment continually happening every instant, non-stop. So that was an interesting day, and it turned me completely upside down for the rest of my life. That was it, game over. I didn't know at the time what had happened. I thought I'd gone completely mad. But, it wasn't drugs, it wasn't alcohol, it was just going fun to go surfing, for God's sake. And this damn snake comes up and bites me, big one, 5 metres long, at least. So, body that thick. Bit me on the right foot. Had the fang marks there, I think they're still there. They were there for at least 20 or 30 years. But no physical snake ever bit me. No. I could feel the venom coming up my legs, but no physical snake ever struck. No, amazing. power of country, and talked about power of country. Country is the ultimate teacher and guide. Country can give us everything, everything. We go sit in country and empty our mind and just be with it, just let go and merge into it, immerse with it. It just takes you over and you become country. It's incredible. Everything shifts, you know. And here we are in this beautiful country where people have been engaged in that kind of practice for at least 65,000 years. The old man said a lot longer. And it's full of it. It's resonating with it. I mean, people just didn't engage. They sung it. They sing it today. They dance it today. I don't know about here, but definitely up in the Kimberley and in the Pilbara and in the Central Desert and in Arnhem Land, plenty of places. They're singing it. They're putting energy into it. They're interacting with it. Co-creating with country is the way forward. So we may be very clever and try to work out all sorts of ways forward, but there's no substitute for working with country. There's no substitute for going inside and becoming grounded in the Bulgari-Gara and letting it inform what comes out. Then the mind ego, they can come in and do a good job, shaping it appropriately, not taking it over, owning it, and then putting it on everyone. That's not the way, never has been. So that's one of the reasons the world's in a bit of a mess at the moment. So the old man was very clear that as a species, like all species, we were given a blueprint for living on Earth in a respectful, balanced way and looking after everything. He said every species has its law. The magpie has its law, the dolphin has its law, humans have their law, the jarrah tree has its law, the bloodwood tree has its law, the Goolarabooloo bush has its law, the river has its law, everything has its law. This is a single system, this universe, this world, a holistic system. It means it's composed of, every element is interdependent but autonomous, and in order to be, needs to function to support the continuance of the whole system of which it is intimately a part. So it's all connected. We can't separate ourselves out from the system and impose our will on the natural world and expect to have beneficial outcomes. It doesn't work like that at all. So this is the sort of messaging I started to receive from the old man when I met him, which was 1991. And that rainbow serpent that initiated me took me on that journey in a very interesting, circuitous way, which in retrospect I realised was in fact the preparation, the necessary preparation. Indian ashram for a couple of years, well, that's well and good, but this is a serious one. No sex, drugs or rock and roll, 5 hours a day meditation, 5 hours of Sanskrit chanting, hard work in the fields. It tends to clean you up somewhat, and then back into the world, over the bureaucracy in Canberra. Well, that's an interesting experience altogether, particularly when you're teaching senior executives there how to meditate on the sly, And then a billionaire hears about it in Melbourne, he wants a competitive edge, and then America's Cup 1983, whenever it was, 82, Newport, Rhode Island, everyone wants a competitive edge, mental, this whole mysterious thing starts to come into play, Get back to Australia, all the corporates want to know about what are you doing? And so, well, I'm supposed to go into business, it seems, darling, I said to my wife, but I swear to God I'm not going to do it for more than 5 years, that's it. They said, it's not for me, I'm not a business person, but obviously I'm supposed to do this thing. So we did this wonderful cultural change work, recognised by, Professor at Harvard University, Professor of Innovation Entrepreneurship, Dr. Cantor, came out to Australia, we did stuff together, all that stuff. 5 years bang, finished, 38, with my bank account done. Now I'm ready for what it is that I'm supposed to do, but what is it? I had no idea, except for one thought, Jupiter. It's got something to do with Jupiter. That's an old man, an old Aboriginal man. I've got to meet an old Aboriginal man, that's it. So I said to Joan, when you go to Canberra next and see the senior Aboriginal people in Canberra, I think Charlie Perkins and others, can you ask them for a couple of names of really, authentic, traditional Aboriginal elders? Because I really would like to sit with one for a week or two if I can. She came back with 3 names. They're all in the West Kimberley. Not to say that's the only place where they are, of course, but those happen to be in the West Kimberley. So I went up there. And the only one there at the time was Lulu. And he was sitting 100 metres away from the Kimberley Aboriginal Law and Cultural Centre office. The lady very kindly walked me over there. He was on the pin down on the ground making a boomerang under a tamarind tree. Hello, who's this? Fellow from Perth, want to see you, Lulu. Oh, very good, very good. Do you want a chair, sit on a chair? Or be a silly old black man like me and sit on the ground? So I sat on the ground. He thought that was cool. So every day, for a couple of weeks, sat there. And finally, the 3rd week or so, he turned to me and said, yeah, I've been waiting for a fella like you. 42 years at that point. I've been waiting for a fella like you. He said, why don't you maybe think about living here on country, just north of Broome there. And we're going to work together, you and me and the mob, and we'll write one book. Oh, I said, that's a great honour, Lulu. I said, but I'm not a writer. He chuckled. He said, you will be into this. I thought he was talking about a 3 or 4 year, 2, 3, 4 year type process. I had no idea it was going to be 31 years. But that knowledge had to be passed on slowly. You can't pass on knowledge unless people are ready to receive it and hold it without twisting it. And it's very easy for even well-intentioned white fella minds to twist good stuff and turn it into something it's not, I said, OK, Lulu, we'll do it. And that was when I understood why I'd gone through what I'd gone through to that point. It was what enabled, gave the ability to actually to make that level of commitment, to spend 31 years of your life. There's no incomer for 31 years of your life to do one thing, such as a book. So, yeah, Lulu was the last of his kind in some ways, or amongst the last of his kind, in that he was holding the original knowledge, truly. No white people, no any people in their world at all when he received that knowledge. So this was the real authentic stuff. This is what is still carrying, and Anne's carrying. Those old Nyikina women, and men too probably, that she spends time with, are holding this. And it's not held in the mind, it's held in what Lulu called true feeling, the space of true feeling. What's true feeling? True feeling is when the individual is connected with the whole via lian. Lulu refers to it. Lian, power in the belly. Like the umbilical thread connects baby to mother. That golden thread, that physically invisible thread, connects individual self to the whole, to the universe. So the intelligence of the universe is obviously highly intelligent. Look at it. This is magnificent. Who could design anything like that? Extraordinary. That intelligence is then available. It's accessible. That's how we create the future. Access it. Work with it. How do we do that? Well, there'll be people here already doing that, who are already connected. I can think of a couple straight off, but, it's country, said Lulu, is the key. Be with country. Walk, talk, merge with country. It'll give you everything. It'll open it all up for you. And then we can actually, develop the ways forward that are going to work for everyone. Because at the moment, the way forward is only going to work for people largely at the top of the pile. It's not going to work for ordinary people at all. It's not going to work for country at all. The rivers will continue to be polluted and destroyed. I mean, look what happened in our lifetime in the last 10, 20 years to the Murray-Darling River Basin. Magnificent riverine system. That's shocking. That's shocking. That's like murdering a baby. in full view of all of us, you know. And that's what they want to do to the Fitzroy River, to the Martuwarra, for God's sake. The Kimberley, the crown jewel of Earth's ecosystems. Well, arguably, certainly up there, the top 3, 4, 5. The Kimberley, I mean, hundreds of species of flora and fauna still not discovered, still not known. Bigger than all the British Isles. The Kimberley, pristine, gorgeous, magnificent, and so powerful. So powerful. I defy anyone to go and spend a month up there, out in the middle of nowhere, on advice of the right place to sit from a local Aboriginal person, and not come back transformed. You go out there by yourself or with one other, with no radio, no mobile, no nothing, with a fire, and just sit there and be with it. That's how powerful it is. It's extraordinary. They want to frack it. They are fracking it right now. The only part of Western Australia that we're allowed to frack, isn't it? The Kimberley. Not allowed to do it here, not allowed to do it down south where I live. No, but Kimberley, that's okay. That's wilderness. That's, oh my God, you know, please, you know, it should stop now. Full stop now. Everything should come to a grinding halt in the Kimberley in terms of mining development. The people who want to take so much water out of it to grow cotton, you know, for all this, what are you talking about? The economic value of that pristine environment is enormous. Just in pure ecotourism terms, it's enormous. I mean, the walking trail of the Camino through France, Spain, you know, is a very, very big economy for the local people. A single walking trail, and now it's World Heritage listing. Same in Peru with the Machu Picchu. Same in Japan. In Australia, which has literally tens of thousands of kilometres called song lines or song cycles, ancient, most ancient on earth, walking trails, not one. Not one. This whole country should be opened up for the network of song cycles, song lines to be accessed by people of all kinds, of all types. I mean, this is a sort of picture that I started to see when I put on the lenses that Lulu gave me. And the lenses were the blueprint for living, the broad parameters of the principles that people were following on Earth, however they describe them, whatever their stories, myths, rituals, etc., their principles were the same. So when we put on those lenses, which what part 2 of the book does, is more than half of the book, it lays out the law of the dreaming, the blueprint for living, you know. And we put on those lenses and look at the world and possible solutions, and we start to see very different solutions, and in fact very powerful solutions. One that comes to mind is in part 3 of the book, for example, is the concept of bringing governance back to the ground where people live. It was fundamental principle on Earth for at least 290,000 years. You know, we've been around for 300,000 years, per the cave in Morocco. People just like you and me, at least 300,000. So for 290,000 of those years, no, there were no wars of conquest and control. No, there were battles, clan clashes, you know, this sort of stuff. But no one ever thought, I'm going to go and take their land and enslave those people or imprison them or kill them. No, not like that at all. I mean, we're talking about people who have deep respect. So it doesn't stop people getting angry and doing stupid things, but it does stop them from going and appropriating what's not theirs. That's very disrespectful, to say the least. There was no environmental degradation. It was cared for lovingly like family, which it is. And people had great dignity. I can't tell you how many times Lulu emphasised that people lived in great dignity. They were autonomous beings, fully autonomous beings, independently connected with other beings, family, community, country and the ancestors. But not as dependent beings, as autonomous beings. Our autonomy has been stripped away from us. We're even going to get digitalised soon, you know? I mean, talk about the end of the game. No, it mustn't happen. It can't happen. The human spirit must not be extinguished by greed and lust for power and control. This lust for power and control is a psychosis. It's a sickness. There's only one controller, and that's Bulgarigara. That's the whole system. The whole system is self-regulating, self-controlling. There is no central controller. That's the way we need to organise on Earth. Full stop. So we organised one way, starting about 10,000 years ago. We saw it in Mesopotamia. Suddenly, people started building towns and then cities. And property was split and divided. And then desire to dominate. Sapiens' position as the most important player in the game. Must control, must subdue, must dominate. So, ruler and ruled. The splitting of consciousness, dichotomous society, not a unity-based society, not a oneness society, not a society of the dreaming. Dichotomous, split, divided. People within themselves, against one another's, with others from other mobs, with the natural world, with the non-material world, divided from it, and therefore weakened and capable of being controlled. The moment we reclaim what is ours, we can never be controlled. Now, that's scary, isn't it? Can you imagine? Good heavens, not being able to control anyone in this room? We're all running free, but we're running free as what? We're running free as self-regulating beings, intimately connected with the whole system. We're connected, as Anne so eloquently spoke, with elements of the natural world. That particular blue-tongued lizard is her kin. Kin. I mean, you're in a completely different relationship, because from kin you can learn and share and look after each other and protect each other. So the totemic connection, for Lulu, he also loved making blue-tongued lizards. It was one of his favourite things he used to carve. And his conception totem was the rainbow serpent, Yungaru. You know, so he could speak to the snake, no problem at all. Yeah, all that's missing at the moment. These are things that can come back very easily and I urge you to read the book. Not because what's there is what Lulu wanted to bring to the surface. In part 3, apart from the story of the Great Battle of Walmadani, which Daniel was intimately involved in, where the Goolarabooloo people in the end prevailed over, BHP, who was it, Rio, Woodside, the big boys, and the state government and the federal government, at great cost personally to themselves and so on, but nevertheless prevailed, such as the power of the rainbow serpent. Yungaru, no one was ever going to do that one in. I don't know why I'm saying that. Oh yeah, because after those 2 chapters in part 3, I put on those lenses that Lulu offers basically in part 2 of the book, and come up with all sorts of different possibilities for moving forward. But that's just this one fella. Anyone in this room who puts on those lenses, absorbs and digests what's in part 2, will then come up with other solutions and other possibilities. And out of that mix, some wonderful things will emerge. For example, it could be that we say, okay, it is time that we look seriously at how this country is governed. We're governed by a system that came into operation under colonial rule, where the continent was divided up with almost all cases, except some of Victoria and New South Wales, with straight lines, by the colonial office bureaucrats in London, WA, South Australia, like that. For God's sake, what's the context of human life? The context of human life is the world in which we live. It's our mother. Without that, we have no life. So the first thing is, okay, how do we need to look after things in smaller groups, can't look after anything like that centrally. It doesn't work. You finish up with Murray-Darling River Basin disasters. We need let's look at bioregions, let's look at ecosystems. Surely we should be managing our world, our country, Australia, according to the bioregions, the ecosystems. There's 89 of them identified in Australia, 89 bioregions, I think 419 sub-bioregions. Yeah. Why are they not our boundaries? Why is governance not at the regional level? Full stop. Regional governance, bioregional governance. Where's the conversation about that? You can't have that conversation, that's not permitted. That's outside the Overton window. We're not allowed to talk about that. Where's our love of life? Where's our sense of responsibility? 4 generations out, 5 generations out. Lulu was always thinking a long way out. So these are the sort of discussions and conversations that need to get underway in Australia. We have the referendum. For me, it's a joke. I mean, of course we should all vote yes, of course there should be a voice, but there is a voice at the moment. Marcia Langton, Noel Pearson, Tom Calmer, Louise O'Donoghue, they can reel them off, 10, 20, 30. No, okay, but they're not a single body. Okay, so we'll create a voice, a single body. Maybe, we don't quite know yet. Well, who's going to be that single body? Marcia Langton, Noel Pearson, Louise O'Donoghue. What about the people on the ground? Daniel's mother I talked with about this last week, Janice. I don't want to know about it, she said. It's going to be the same people. It's just another bit of bureaucracy, she said. You're not going to listen to us. You'll probably say, well, Kimberley Land Council can represent our voice. They represent us and all these things, they can represent our voice. She said, but they don't listen to us. She's sitting on the ground at the bottom of everything. And that's the voice we need. The voice of the wisdom keepers. The voice of people like Anne and Daniel. Well, they're not going to go and sit on those bodies. They've got far more to offer than to get caught in, that sort of situation. So it's very tricky, yes, great, good, have a voice, but really it's a continuation of the colonial model. You will fit into our system. You will be a voice in our system. No, you won't be a voice in the parliament. You won't actually have a vote in the parliament, as in New Zealand, with the Maori people. No, but, we'll listen to what you have to say. That's it. That's as much as we can do in Australia today, when in 1788 negotiations should have begun on a treaty. Whose land is it? It's the land of the people who have looked after it since the beginning of time, full stop, end of the story. But we are now all here. Whether those people want it or not, like it or not, whether we want it or not, like it or not, we're all here. Many of us have been born here. If we've been born on this continent, we have the spirit, one of those little spirit beings of this country in us already. We're not separate from it, we are part of it. Zan's really trying to say, we'll all work together then. Forget about black. Lulu was not remotely interested in black people, white people, yellow people, pink people, green people. Everyone was sacred. End of the story. We all work together. We want to find a way forward. We've got to work together. We've got to walk together. So he wanted this dreaming put out of what can be. What can be. He wanted humans to understand that it's time to take responsibility for keeping the balance of all life on Earth intact. No more Anthropocene extinction, species thousands a year disappearing. No more of this mental health suicide stuff. No more wars, endless wars. No more of these growing inequality gaps, great injustices and inequalities. No, this is not right. It can't go on like this. And the reason it keeps going on like this is because we refuse to look at things through a different window. As long as we keep looking through this same window, which many of us have been conditioned and culturated into, looking through, and without exception, everyone in this room is a very fine, beautiful human being, consciousness somewhat elevated, expanded, but we still have that in us. So it's like we need to teach ourselves to look at things through a different window, with different lenses, and then we begin to see, and really see and get excited about what is actually possible. The change that is to come will come from the ground up. It will not come from, great reset, top down, oligarch, techno-financial controlled trip, which is what's going on right now. No, that's not going to change anything. The change that's needed will come from the ground up when we take personal responsibility to connect with Bulgaria, with the ground at the bottom of everything, and then act on it with others all together. Thank you.
Yeah, so there's a lot to think about. And there's no end to it, so as Greg mentioned, we're living, we remember the past, we're living in the present, and we're thinking about the future. So it's all part of that, and it's, still life as we know it, but it's all part of that pukaringara, dream time. And we all experience it in our own ways, but you think that you might go to bed and have a dream, but in some sense your soul leaves your body and your spirit is traveling. And with I've got 38 tourists on Saturday to take up the country for 9 days through our walk, the Lurujari Heritage Trail. Now we've been operating over 30 years, and due to COVID we missed 3 years of it, but that initiated from the old great grandfather of how we wanting to bring people together, walk together, share together stories. And over the years, the people we've met come and gone and shared experiences, and they still ring up and have these experiences, and it's like having to share that ability to be able to allow yourself, your inner self, to be open-minded. A lot of time that we walk around the streets here and sort of focus, tunnel focus, but our surroundings, but although we're not in our natural environment, where it's all developed, but in some space where that you want to find that time, meditation they call it, that helps, for sure. You try to get in touch with your inner self to release your stress and all the other emotions that come with it. But that's allowing that lian. So that lian, again, that referring is your inner feeling about your intuition, and allowing your mind to have that ability to open and experience it. Don't be afraid of it. You might have experiences with ghosts, but they're usually probably a deceased member of the family just coming to say hello. But we have different ways of knowing what's good and bad and what we feel. But you've got green light for good things, red light for danger. So little things like that. But it's just observing it, but knowing with your lian, open-mindedness, and allowing yourself to be out there with the country and spirits. But we're sort of open now to, I think, questions from the floor, that if anyone would like to ask Anne, Greg, and myself, and have an open discussion. And those that have read the book and just wanting to know a bit more, but in a way that humanity is going, that the rich get richer. It's just they take advantage of their law and their religion, and about forgetting about the conquering, and keeping the already suppressed, that sort of bad behavior, whereas people abusing that ability and the power of having to control, and just taking advantage and just abusing it to the rest of the world. But we as people, that we have in our culture, maban people, medicine men, but they're there to help the people who are sick, or to help if there's bad omens around, but not to abuse that system. So, in the religious sense that you sort of look at it, and there's the laws that are created in the way you behave. We have the Bible, we have our Goolarabooloo law. So it's all there. It's just, you break laws, you get punished, but in natural ways that, you can get punished different ways, naturally. But as you break the law and stealing a car, you go to jail. Policeman. But at the time, going with Greg, spending that time with the old great-grandfather, he sort of, like I said, he dreamed that he's seen the future, and last of his kind, and there's more and more of those old people, a lot of memory and a lot of things that passed on, but it's limited. So it's sad, but it is a dying sort of culture that we're sort of, some of us that are true, that trying to hold on to these things and try to share it with and to pass on that to the next generation too. But so I'd like to just, anyone would like to to open to the floor to ask a question, either to Anne, Greg, or myself. But yeah, feel free. And I think there are still some more nibblies and drinks at the back as well. So big time opportunity to have a chat and catch up. Yeah, so and good example is Greg was talking about the song cycles, throughout the country. There's so many of them, and they're all interconnected. We have our, spiritual creator being stories, rainbow serpents, mythological, but if there's certain people are gifted with those abilities to see spirit people, see creator beings, and these things are thousands of years old, but only some certain people are gifted and have that ability. But then there's people there that have that, and they get messages too about how we should behave and what we're doing, and guiding people and community in behaving, towards each other and with country, because the fracking, for example. So there's a lot of threat. The old great-grandfather said one day there's a man that's going to have this spear, but one day that ground will get soft, and that spear will go into the ground. But then I thought about it, and I said, well, a lot of drilling going on, so that, today there's all this fracking, and digging up resources, and, there's good use for it, but then there's bad use for it, but I think it's just destroying, what's there, but yet we have so much of our own natural energy and resources to sustain ourselves rather than exploiting it overseas and around the world. Although we need these things to help with technology and things, life is getting smarter, but same time, we have to maintain what we need to protect and have to give ourselves identity as well, because once it's gone forever, and then we all become assimilated, and then we're just part of the wider community, and then we can't go on, it's like going back to the old days, and you can't go and practice your traditions, your culture, and your ceremonies, because that's deemed, bad or voodoo, or it's wrongful. But we're out there to, it's our existence, our very existence. So there's a purpose for it, So, and it all connects to the past, the present, and the future. And that's by continuing the whole circle of life and being, so that we pass it on. So that's a continuous cycle. But when we leave this earth, we're only here for a short time, but we're still in that spirit world. So we're still living, but in a spirit world. There's people that can, read your hands, star signs, and the rest of it. So they're gifted people in their own right. But, so different worlds, different cultures that have that ability, but just having to understand that. But we as Aboriginal people, here in Australia, have to, try the best way to maintain and try get support and working together too. It's good, it's whichever way government dictates, laws are made, and it's hard that we have to try and fight and find good people to get in there, but it's a lot of burden and stress that people tend to, Aboriginal people are not used to that life. That sort of have ability to just sort of live that happy life, go out hunting, be on country, but then it's hard to try and assimilate somebody to put some work boots on, a hard hat, and just go and drive a truck for 12 hours or something like that. But it's forced assimilation, and then they're losing that identity. But it's a weighing up and balancing act between everything, the way we go. But and as well, Greg, we're happy to signed some books as well. I think there's a couple up here for sale. But greatly appreciate you coming and having to celebrate the book launch here with Greg. Any questions? No, all good.
Yeah.
Must have been worth it.
I'll kick on off.
Yeah, bro.
Had the privilege of meeting this beautiful man down in the southwest with Fee. Question for all three of you. When we talk about, the biggest thing for me is ignorance. For me is no longer bliss. How would we create an awareness of just pretty much everything we've been talking about? The rapidity, so especially with youth and our generations and future generations to come, the awareness. How would we expand the awareness? I'll meet your friend as well.
How do we expand the awareness, yeah?
Yeah, I think the awareness, so with ignorance, everyone just, it's not my problem, so in a modernised kind of culture, it's not my problem, who cares? How can we change that ethos?
Well, we're doing it.
How would we expand? How would we speed up the process? Per se, in an era that kind of doesn't want any responsibility.
Yeah, well, we're doing it. Anne has been doing it for a long time. Daniel, as mentioned, been doing it for 30 years by walking people across country for 9 days and nights, camping out together, Indigenous people. And a lot of people are doing a lot of things around the planet, right? You're not going to succeed in doing it by way of revolution. If we use means of violence, it will rebound on us with more force. It's not the way to go. How do you get it happen quickly is really the issue. And that means people getting in deep, going right inside, deep inside, to the ground at the bottom of everything, and letting it out. You saw what happened this evening. That was not at all what I wanted to talk about.
I should have stuck to the script.
I can say to you, the whole thing, and may have had that experience too. You may have had something looked at and she said something completely different. So you go deep inside and it can really start to impact on people. And the more people go deep inside, the better. And I really feel there's no better way than coming to know country. And anyone who goes up, down to the peninsula on the coast there, the Oolong Song Cycle, these boys help look after, go to Martuwarra country, that magnificent serpent, that whole country that Anne and her people look after, and spend time there, more can do that, the better. And the more in many places in Australia where that can happen, literally hundreds of places and people where that can happen. And it's starting to happen too. It has been for a couple of decades, but still going too slow. So the more we get in deep, the more inspired we become, the more energised the whole thing. It's a matter of shifting the energy, really, So there's a personal responsibility there as well as a collective one. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So how do you feel, I've been contemplating this for quite a while, because currently we're set up as a government system, like Australia's a company, and the ecosystem of the economics is literally insane, it's a beast. So I don't believe taking over the system and fighting with them to work with us is the answer. I think it's just about laying down new pipes and not so much putting the finger up and saying, we're doing it anyway, but just going into community and doing it ourselves anyway, regardless of what they think. So I've been thinking, I just had the same sort of ideas about decentralising everything rather than having that one government governing everything, breaking it down to smaller communities. But then because a lot of white people is driven by capitalisation, how does that then work at a micro scale with communities as opposed to one?
Spot on. I mean, the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people could have set up to operate as a single nation. They easily could have done that, or as 5 or 6 nations, but they didn't do that. What they understood clearly was your governance needs to be place-based. Where the mob lives, they're the people who, par excellence, understand how to look after that place and one another. It is so obvious. It was the part of the template that we were given as human beings for local, regional level self-governance. So they say 89 bioregions, there should be 89, Australia should be 89 self-governing autonomous bioregions, where the people who live there are responsible for their lives, to be self-sufficient for that ecosystem. And they have wonderful collaborative, cooperative mechanisms and protocols that's always existed in traditional pre-1788 Australia to ensure there's interdependence and, you know, the whole thing flows as a single system without central governance. So it's just our minds which have been captured and caught and turned to think that it can only be the structured hierarchical model, that's it, there's no other way. But we're looking at the results today of that model, and it is disastrous. So what is the model that works? Well, 65,000 years, we want to hear what that voice says, you know?
All right. Yep, another question there.
Yeah. Greg, I think it was Buckminster Fuller who said something along the lines of, you know, in the long run we either all win or we all lose, which is a little different from the kind of thinking that I think permeates our culture, where we envy the wealthy and the rich and the elite and pity the rest of us. Because maybe it's true, and I'd like to know what you think about this, because you did allude to the elite getting the benefits of the game, so to speak. Do they? Are they not equally miserable and fearful and potentially lost as all of us? And might we, as someone once said, love the poor more than we hate the rich?
Look, I've lived in Dalkeith, you know, with a swimming pool and a tennis court with a panoramic view of the Swan River and no mortgage. And I was a hell of a lot happier living in the bush with a fire and no tent. There you go. I can assure you the experience was much deeper and richer and more fulfilling in every way. I've spent time living with a billionaire, oligarch, Richard Pratt, the late Richard Pratt. He was a fun guy. He had a lot of fun. He had a wonderful mistress. Had a child by her the wife never knew about until, you know, near the end. Poor Richard. Yeah. You know? Look, everyone shits and farts. Yeah. But the cause of suffering is not whether we have wealth or don't have wealth. It's not whether we have cancer or don't have cancer. It's whether we regard ourselves as separate from everyone and everything else and are driven by the mind and the ego. If what drives us is the deeper reality of our oneness, then the mind and ego operate as the agents of that, and life is beautiful. One lives in a state of contentment, and it doesn't matter what's going on, whether one has been thrown into Guantanamo Bay or living in Monaco Palace. You know, there's really, it's very simple at the end of the day. It's not complicated at all. What we seek is already there now. It's there now. It will never go away, ever. Yeah.
Since I've read your book, I've been really asking, how do I enact? What do I do? What do I do? And it's taken me a lot, I think, to realise that it's so innocent. You know, it's me being just going out onto country with full heart and just absolute innocence. And not having this profound, you know, not searching for something profound, but just actually allowing the dropping and the silence to happen, and, you know, the clever me to go and the one that wants to do something and actually create a world revolution or whatever, you know, the change that we know has to happen. But it seems that it's really right here in my heart that has to be so genuine and take myself onto country as often as I can. And all the excuses I make to not do it, I'm busy. You know, like just what is more important? You know, just to sit there with no actual agenda. And yet it's so contrary to everything I know. And it's so challenging for me to do that. And yet, yeah, every day I'm feeling like I did it yesterday. Just go out there and do it. Just go into the forest with your, you know, your crystals, just sit there. And it's so beautiful to see, you know, there's somebody sitting in the forest doing something sacred and it's being there, you know, and we do it bit by bit and we just do it. We just get out and we stay, you know. And then I believe that more elasticity, more permission, more connection will happen from each one of us just sitting.
Yeah, it reminds me of that famous story of the monkey, the 100th monkey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't really know it. But I know there was like one monkey that worked out a certain way of opening up a nut and having a new food source, right? And then another monkey got it and another monkey. And when it reached the 99th or the 100th monkey, then on another island, because all those monkeys were on another island far away, those monkeys started to do it. Now that's a very good example of it's an illustration of the dreaming being a whole thing. It's not separated, it's all one system. So if a mob start to move together as one, the whole world can suddenly shift. And we're talking here about shifting in consciousness or awareness or mindfulness, right? It's not, we can say ideologies, new ideologies, no, it's actually about this consciousness that every single one of us experiences every instant, and every tree and animal and bird and so on, it suddenly shifts, just flips. And it can flip now, just like that. So look, it looks impossible, it looks too much. The powers that be have such control, and there's some good people there at the top too, and there's others who are a bit sociopathic, psychopathic, whatever. You know, there's maybe more at that level than at our level, but there are also good people there, beautiful people, some of them. But yeah, it's the magic of people getting real as a mob moving together, and then it starts to happen. You know, it's just beginning. There's a big shift happening on Earth at the moment, and much different from the 1960s. Flower power revolution and all those noble sentiments, great sentiments, but nothing in it there, nor commercialised, commoditised. But this is something different. A lot of people, I think, since COVID have had a shock. I know, they speak to me often, common people have woken up and realised something's not right in the world. And I never would have heard that before from those kind of people. But now they realise, we can't go on like this. They're thinking about their grandkids, a lot of them. Great-grandkids. Genuine concern, beautiful-hearted people, Australians of all kinds, of all types, whether Aboriginal, European, African, a lot of good Africans coming in, a lot of beautiful Asians coming in, you know, a lot of good Indians, Chinese, 99% excellent, you know. Yeah, this is getting underway. The next 10 years are going to be a big shift. Big shift, otherwise, big trouble.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I've been very lucky and I feel privileged to be here. And looking around, none of us are poor. And I've been lucky to go and sit in country and go to different places and meet elders. But when I come back here and we do Reconciliation Week, go on a walk, it's great. But where are all the Aboriginal people? There are Aboriginal people near where I live, in Willagee. I never see them. How do I connect at that level?
I just wanted to add to your comment. As a scientist, I think we are testosterone out on science. One of the things JPP, James Price Point Walnut did was that, exactly as you're saying, we need a different way to tell the story, how we capture the hearts and minds and we bring the people with us. So this conversation where art is such an important vehicle for giving voice to story, in song, in dance, in photo, in painting, in story. So I'm a real strong believer for what you're saying is that we need a different way to tell the story, and that's when we can bring people with us. But the other point I wanted to make is that everything is place-based. Here in the city, Nunga Wajak people are doing Dandukuli. They are getting prepared to walk towards when settlement first came to this Swan River. So there's amazing leaders from here, from Perth, that every 2 years have a big dialogue, and it's growing and growing and growing. And one of the things that was quite beautiful with the first time I went was last year, was the young leaders. That young people are standing and saying, we want the world to be a different way. Our young people are saying that. So I totally agree that we need a different way to tell the story, and that's what Wamadan did. It brought artists together. It brought people from all over the world to tell the story a different way. We had a huge invitation that we sent out to little people right across the world, and little people did paintings and sent them to us and created a huge montage of little people connecting. So it is about story. It is how to tell it a different way. But the point I want to make is everything is place-based, and the leaders from this place are doing amazing things, and every 2 years they have this conversation. So there are things happening. That's a very good question. I live in Willagee. Where are the Aboriginal people? You know, this is a really important thing, because everywhere there is these systems of support in community. And so it's that thing, like what we say is that once things are inside you, until you speak them out, they can't be actualised. So if you say, I'm in Willagee or I'm in Applecross, I want to meet people from here. It's like that when we say, when you go and sit on country and you think, what am I doing? But as you sit and you watch, country speaks. And so what I'm saying is that it's all about, someone said to me, there's only two things we have, which is time and energy. And how do we bring them together to do good or to do bad? So I would say, you know, like in terms of what I believe is that if you are somewhere and you want to connect, this is what we're saying, you have to actualise it. You have to speak it out. You have to send that dream out. And like, you know, Patty Rose said, when you send that dream out, you will attract people who will stand with you, to dream with you and dream beyond what you as an individual. Because remember what I said? We all come from a culture of we, not me. And with globalisation and turning nature into a resource and forming other forms of how we can trade it out and trade it in, we've lost that way. So we need to go back to the we, that we come from a world of we. It is about collective. And I think with that we can do that. But what I'm saying is that country is powerful. Country is the most important feature that we can have. And if you stand there in Willagee and you keep saying to that country, that place, that Willagee, I want to meet Aboriginal people, you will, because they will be called to you. So one of the things we really want to emphasise is that if you want transformation, you must be brave. You have to speak it out. You have to find those people who share your dream and build that together. Aboriginal people are everywhere. They're in Willagee, they're in Dalkeith, they're in Peppoloni Grove, they're sitting down there at Bayswater in Midland, you know what I mean? So you've got to speak to the land, and the land will hear you, and it will bring people to you, because that's how it's brought all of us together tonight.
Can I share a funny story? I just wanted two white hippie girls that are feet up the 2J land, and we're in this beautiful clearing. This is my beautiful friend's land out in 2J. And we're standing out in the beautiful forest, and there's this clearing, and we both have this energetic sense that there's stories here. I feel emotional because it was really beautiful. And standing there under the moonlight, and I'm like, I feel like there's Aboriginal people around us, and I want to know what happened on these lands. I want to know. And we're both standing there completely sober. Crunch, crunch, crunch. We hear leaves walking, someone walking through country. Then I hear the murmur of an Aboriginal voice. And then we get out our iPhones and we're like, oh my God, who's there? Like, just fear sets in. But country does talk to you if you ask. It's there.
we just have to I have to overcome that fear of, the white way of thinking, which is, what is this? I don't understand it. It's scary. But yeah, it's all there. We just have to ask. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I'm scared and I'm excited all at the same time. The beautiful conversations around the energetic unity consciousness. I just deeply feel, and I'm so grateful for all the messages that you've all shared. Thank you. I'm really stuck on this vote. The yes vote, the no vote. I'm not sure what to do.
Yep.
Any guidance would be wonderful. Thank you.
I'll go for time.
I'd say follow your true heart, follow your true feeling, follow your true feeling, your true feeling, your deep intuitive awareness of that feeling. That speaks the truth. Yeah, each person should follow their true feeling, not be swayed by, it's good to be informed, there's no issues with that. But at the end of the day, when we make a decision, it's really important that we connect with the deeper reality and the decision informed by true feeling. Intuitive awareness, that instinctive knowing that precedes the mind coming into play. You know, you look back, the moment when you just intuitively understood instantly, and then maybe the mind came in and changed it or stayed with it or who knows what. That's the truth. That's the way to go, whether it's yes or no. Yeah? So don't ask, should I vote yes, should I vote no? Because who knows what's behind that answer. Just be informed and then follow your true feeling. Yeah. I know, it's nice to get it. Yes, you should do this or not do that.
I want someone to tell me what to do.
I really have enjoyed all the things I'm hearing tonight, and one of the things that I wanted to add to the conversation is that whenever some contrary idea comes up, like sort of recent, for instance, contrary to our colonial mainstream ways of thinking, the very thing that we habitually do, typically, is say, well, how? How? And maybe that's the wrong question, because very often how is used as a way of, the response is, well, we don't know, well, therefore we can't do it, so let's just keep going as usual. And someone once came up with the expression, which I really relate to, that the answer to how is yes. The answer to how is yes. Because we ask how too soon. If we just be as real and authentic and get in touch with what's deep inside us, they say the gift is not a gift until it's given. And that's the same sort of thinking.
Thank you for sharing that wisdom. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and it's just wonderful to know that we don't have to have solutions. We just have to be and do our best and show up genuinely.
Yeah.
Greg, you've got customers. Want to sign books?
Oh, she's like, yes.